Okay. Here, let me get the chat up. Um, oh, okay. So I have the chat up. So you guys can write what you want in the chat. So I am trying to get away from politics as much just because it's not good for me mentally. I tend to get obsessed about it, and tend to get emotional about it. But I did want to. Let me see if I can get the right screen. Oops. No. Okay. Let's go. Oops. Did not mean for that to pop up. Uh, hi. Hi, Maddie. Um, okay. So this guy is a pretty popular guy on YouTube. He has made some genuinely good videos. Many of them, as you can see, he is quite the large fan base. He uh but he talks a lot about um kind of SJW intersectionality, sociology, that kind of thing. Not to say that all SGology, sociology is SJW stuff, because I know some people who are sociologists who are not into that. Um, but you can see he has the complicity of geek masculinity, the adorable misogyny of the Big Bang Theory, the fantastic masculinity of Newt Scamander, Donald Trump, lovable misogynist, the subversive boyhood of Steven Universe. And this is, by the way, um, what is his name? McIntosh, um, uh, doing his videos from a couple of years ago. Outtakes: how ways 5 men can help end sexism. This is just funny. Um, let's see what his about. Oh no, it is hosted by Jonathan McIntosh. Um, so this is actually McIntosh, who is Anita Sarkeesian's. I made a geeky stuff channel to take a mental break from the politics. It gets to you after a while. It does. Yeah, I'm planning on doing more PSA reviews. I have a couple of mental health videos um, kind of queued up. And yes, these keep getting recommended to me. Raza, yeah, um, they some of them are actually good, like the one on sexual assault of men played for laughs. Like that one, actually, I think there isn't a legitimate case to be argued that in the media, like, people act like men being raped is funny, um, which is messed up and shouldn't happen. But most of these are just, it's really not based on anything and are kind of silly. The first one I'm going to do is the Wall-E one, because my family has a special relationship with the Wall-E. Um, when we went to the theater, all they did was sell us like stupid fake watches and stuff. It was all junk. And it's funny because it's a movie about the world being taken over by too much trash. So my mom said, it was like, I'm going to write a letter to Pixar about this. Speaking of writing letters, oh, you guys can't see me. Never mind. Let me see if you can actually see me. Huh. Because I was gonna say I actually got a decent envelope, and um, I have my letter in the envelope for the Nuke Vin Diesel stuff. I'm sending it. This is happening. He's the female Sarkeesian, or the male Sarkeesian, I guess you mean. But yeah, he is. Uh, I think you like wrote Anita Sarkeesian's videos. But at least he's not a scammer like Anita Sarkeesian, so at least I can give him credit for that. But yeah, let's do the Wally stuff first. Let me make sure I'm showing the right thing.
Pixar's 2008 animated film Wall-E is a critically acclaimed masterpiece about two adorable robots falling in love.
I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. Like I've actually only ever seen it twice. Um, and one of those times I had to watch it for a high school assignment. Don't ask. This was back when I was at a public high school that I really didn't like. But it's not a masterpiece, dude. I mean, I guess that's an opinion. So you're entitled to your opinion, but
Though I'd argue it also serves as an excellent example of sociological storytelling. Like most of the best science fiction, this movie uses imaginative visions of the future as a lens through which to interrogate the social systems of today.
let me just check. Hey, don't come for Wally, my cute little baby robot. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but I just never really impressed me. I mean, I saw it when I was like 9, and then saw it again when I was like 14. So I don't know. My opinion might be different now.
Today. Now, in order to explore how Wall-E accomplishes this, we need to start with something that makes this movie relatively unique. And that's the fact that it doesn't have a villain. At least, not the kind we've come to expect from a Disney-owned studio.
This is how we handle things down in Toontown.
Hollywood loves its larger-than-life, cartoonish villains. The villainous characters that appear on the big screen are typically framed as bad apples. They do bad things because of their personal deficiencies and nefarious intentions.
Have a bite.
This formula makes for simple, easy
I haven't seen Snow White in forever either. I should definitely watch that
to understand plot lines. But it also tends to reinforce an individualistic worldview. The individualistic worldview is a false but widespread way of thinking in which
wait. Okay. The individualistic worldville. Sorry, I can't talk right now. The individualistic worldview is automatically a bad thing because, like, is he really suggesting that we should have a collectivist worldview? Because that seems like what SJWs want. They want us all to be treated as a collective based on race, gender, whatever. Yes, it did. It had the ship's AI captain. Like, was that not a stereotypical villain? Oh yeah, like the really fat guy. I mean, they're all really fat in Wall-E, but I'm pretty sure that was a villain too.
Society is reduced to a bunch of individuals all making their own independent choices. The central idea underpinning the individualistic model of the world is that people do what they are. People do bad things because they are bad people.
Okay, well, I would say I don't think people necessarily do bad things because they're bad people. I think it's a combination of because we're all humans. We all have good and bad within us. So I think it's a combination of that bad within us and something that is an impetus that causes us to do those bad things, that causes us to bring out that bad side. I don't think people are inherently bad or inherently good. I think he's trying to say he wasn't the typical villain because he tried to keep the people off the planet, not kill them. I don't remember the story of Wally, to be honest. I mean, I kind of remember it, but Yeah, I don't know the details.
According to this reductive framework, injustice is a result of the isolated actions of a few bad apples.
Okay, so he's saying that he's basically saying that injustice is inherently systemic, which I would disagree with. I think there definitely are some systems that create injustice, but I don't think that applies to every bad thing or every form of oppression or whatever. Um, the um, I'm blanking. Um, whatever the kind of thing he's referring to. But I do think there are like a few people up at the top who are responsible for a lot of problems with governments, let's say. So that individualistic worldview does have something to offer. I don't think it's the end all be all, but um, it is there is some legitimacy behind that.
Dare you! Off with his head!
But that worldview, like the Hollywood narratives that are constructed around it, minimizes or completely ignores the important role that social systems and institutions play in our world.
Come on, how bad can it possibly be? How bad can I be? I'm just building the economy.
Okay, one reason that movies have like a main bad guy, and not all movies do, especially more politically oriented movies, it might be the government. But the reason why movies have like one bad guy is because that's easier for us to process. Saying like, oh, it's just this system of bad guys doesn't give a name to the bad guys. Like same thing with heroes. Like that's why there's usually one main character, one main hero, because it's just easier to place it all in one person. And I agree that movies kind of see good and bad as these very black and white things. I'm just checking the chat. What was I gonna say? I agree that movies show good and bad. It's like this black and white, but again, that's easy because it's easier for our brains to process. If you don't include the nuances of systems or people being a combination of good and bad, like that's just harder for people to process because we're dumb. We're dumb humans who just want to see this good, this bad.
Since Wally's narrative isn't built around that traditional formula, the movie presents us with a very different world.
So Wally now supports your sociology. Okay.
It's not that this story doesn't have antagonists or central conflicts. It has both. They just don't take the forms we're used to seeing in popular entertainment. The Wally film setting itself, the acting, or more specifically, the automated systems that run the ship. In other words, the villain of this movie is not a person. It's an institution.
But the villain is a person. It's also easier to resolve the conflict with our it says it's also easier to resolve the conflict within a 2-hour time frame. Yeah. It's also most of the just gets solved. No, but it's because it's easier. How would you have the climax and resolve an issue with the government or the dying environment? Is that super skippy for anyone else? Yes, it is skipping for me too. Let me check my audio. You know what I can do? I can turn off my headphones if interfere with anything. Okay. Because my headphones sometimes pick up the it's laggy, skippy, and robot-like. Huh, maybe I just have a bad internet connection. I don't know. Um, okay, let me know if the audio is still off. It's better when the video isn't playing, I think. Hmm, that's interesting. I've never had somebody, let me try muting myself and then, uh, okay. Tell me if it's getting better or worse. Um, like right now it's pretty normal. No, I can hear. Okay. I'll just continue. I don't know what to do with it. Let me check my, huh. All my audio looks okay. Yeah, but, Raza brought up a good point. It's difficult to make a movie just that it's around the government as a bad guy or the environment as a something to move it forward, unless it's the happening and it's the plants. But even in movies that do present um, the government as a, a bad thing, there's usually like a person representing the government who's the bad guy.
I should briefly mention that the Axiom's AI is named Otto. But unlike HAL 9000 or other AI villains, Otto is not sentient, nor are his actions the result of a malfunction. Otto can't make independent choices. All he can do is follow his pre-programmed directives. And in that sense, Otto isn't a traditional Disney villain. Instead, he functions as the voice of the ship.
See, is this the guy who's the captain of the ship? Um, because um, I'm blanking, but the captain of the ship wasn't he the bad guy?
As an institution. Okay, let's quickly recap the plot for those who haven't seen this movie recently. Humans have
Okay, that'll be helpful because I haven't.
Abandoned Earth after polluting the planet to the point where it's no longer inhabitable. The surviving population lives aboard massive luxury starliners that are drifting through space. These automated galaxy cruisers are run entirely by robots on behalf of the By and Large Corporation.
By and large, everything you need to be happy.
By and Large is essentially a combination of Walmart, McDonald's, Disney, GE, and Starbucks, all rolled into one.
Time for lunch. In a cup.
The company promised the original passengers that they would all be returned to Earth once the planet was made livable again.
Too much garbage in your face? There's plenty of space out in space. B&L Starliners leaving each day. We'll clean up the mess while you're away.
That was over 700 years ago.
The jewel of the B&L fleet, the Axiom.
Over several generations, the human passengers have become so complacent in their overindulgent lifestyle that they've even forgotten how to walk under their own power.
Please remain stationary. A service bot will be here to assist you momentarily.
The film's core conflict revolves around individuals of both the human and robotic variety realizing they're all participating in a system larger than themselves, and then working together to break free from that system.
Okay. There are so many movies that are like fight the system, fight the powers that be, fight the bad guys. Like I don't see how this is much different than any other movie. That's the evil robot. Yeah, like it has a villain.
And that premise, that we as individuals are always participating in something larger than ourselves, is the core concept underpinning the field of sociology. Those larger things that we're all participating in are referred to as social.
Oh, I should just share my link on home settings. Dang it, I'm trying to share my link. No, I can't. Oh, here we go, links. Okay, I'm just going to share this on Facebook and Twitter. Just give me a minute. Because I forgot to share my link. Okay. Oops. All right. Just a minute. All right. Sorry, I was just responding. It was pre-programmed and can't make its own choice, therefore it's not a villain. That's not how villains work. Since when does a villain have to be something that chooses to be a villain? That's a good point. Like lots of villains are just kind of in that position because they're in like for example, I don't know, like a organized crime, like mafia head, like that's just the position that they've kind of come to be in their life. And it's not specifically that they chose to be the villain. In fact, because they're a villain, they probably see their opinion as or their moral wrongdoings as correct.
Social systems. Social systems are interconnected arrangements, structures, and relationships that combine to form a coherent whole. As individual members of society, we are all always participating in a range of different social systems. So, for example, the family unit is a social system, as are schools, and police departments, and corporations.
Wait, the family is a social system. I don't understand. I mean, I understand how like you can be a family and there's obviously social interactions in that system. But say if a family is oppressing another family, is that systemic oppression? I don't know what they're.
And whole society. Patriarchy and white supremacy are also examples of complex interlocking social systems.
Oh God, here we go. Here we go. I don't understand how white supremacy in modern day America is a system. Like, I understand how racists can affect people, but like white supremacists are a small minority of the population at this point. Yeah.
To paraphrase sociologist Alan G. Johnson, it's the dynamic relationship between us as individuals and these larger social systems that makes social life happen. Because the Axiom Starliner functions as a self-contained social system, let's use it to help illustrate how all of this works. Like all social systems, the Axiom includes sets of rules or social norms, which participants are expected to adhere to in order to ensure that the system functions smoothly. In sociological terms, these socially enforced expectations are referred to as paths of least resistance. In the movie, we can see this process play out in the directives that each of the robots must follow. And it's represented by literal lines along which both the passengers and the crew travel around the ship.
The Lido deck is now closing.
It's important to note that paths of least resistance do not determine the behavior of all individual human beings. We are not robots, after all. And that means that we all have a choice in how we participate in these social systems. We can, if we choose, step off the path of least resistance.
So he's saying that patriarchy and white supremacy are the paths of least resistance? Okay. I legitimately don't get what he's trying to say here. We also have systems in place to combat oppression from potential racists. That's true too. We have anti-discrimination laws. I mean, if you're saying like white supremacy used to be an oppressive system, I could understand that, but currently most people are not white supremacists.
But doing so will likely lead to pressure from others to get us back in line.
We interrupt your timeline with an important message.
The most succinct description of how paths of least resistance operate that I've ever seen uses the board game Monopoly. The Monopoly example, along with many of the other concepts we've been discussing.
It says the forest and the trees. Sociology is a lot of practice and promise. Alan G. Johnson, author of The Gender Knot. And privilege, power, and difference. Okay. So just so that we know who we're talking about here.
Discussing can be found in the excellent book The Forest and the Trees by sociologist Alan G. Johnson. He points out that Monopoly functions as a mini social system. Like all social systems, the game includes paths of resistance, which can be found in the rules in the box. All we really have to do is glance at those rules, and we can predict exactly how people's behavior will be impacted.
I do say his editing is top-notch. I wish I could edit as well as some of the SJWs I respond to, but otherwise, you're just wrong,
We
dude.
play Monopoly.
The path of least resistance for players is to simply follow the rules.
Bart, you're cheating.
Refusing to adhere to the rules will lead to pushback from other players and likely get you kicked out of the game. Whenever the rules of the game are followed, an antagonistic pattern of behavior will always.
Okay, so why Monopoly in particular and not any other game, like the game of life, for example? Like lots of games are like life or economy simulations, and if you resist the rules, you'll get accused of cheating because you're supposed to play by the rules of the game. I legitimately don't get it.
Emerge.
That's it, baby. Welcome to Marvin Gardens.
And that pattern is one of ruthless greed.
You're a little light here, Dad.
I'm good for the rest, you know I am.
Remember, the game of Monopoly is over when one player has taken everything of value from everyone else.
1, 2, 3, go! Why, you little...
Isn't Monopoly game night the best? The love, the laughter, the competition.
As Johnson reminds us, if we use an individualistic lens to explain this pattern of behavior, it leads to one explanation. People are greedy. Remember that the core idea underpinning the individualistic worldview is that people do what they are. So according to that, people playing Monopoly behave in greedy ways because people are greedy. Now the problem with that, as Johnson points out...
Okay, I would say that all people have some aspect of greed. Even the most charitable person has to get over that one aspect of greed. It's just a part of human nature. So I don't see why he's contending that. I guess we'll see later in the video.
Is that most people don't behave in ruthlessly greedy ways when they're not playing Monopoly.
Well, just because people know how to control their greed doesn't mean that they it doesn't mean that they don't have that greed within them. Like most people, don't behave in ruthlessly greedy ways. He's saying basically if people were greedy, then they would all be greedy. Look, no, I think we all have greedy tendencies within us, but just like we have charitable tendencies within us. But I think that how much that is expressed. Let me just check my notification. I'm blanking. How that is expressed depends on the person.
Sure, all people have the capacity for selfishness to some degree, but the rules of monopoly not only encourage greedy behavior, the rules actually make greedy behavior a necessary condition of participation.
What does this all have to do with Wally again?
Personal values of the players are irrelevant to describing the game and its rules. It doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist monk or a Wall Street banker. If you play Monopoly as it's meant to be played, you'll end up acting like an absolute monster. Paths of least resistance and their outcomes vary greatly depending on which social system we're talking about. So in Monopoly, the outcome is greed. In Axiom, however, the path of least resistance for the passengers is to be passive super consumers.
Attention, Axiom shoppers. Try blue. It's the new red.
Many film reviewers noted that Wall-E functions as a critique of consumer capitalism, which it undoubtedly does. However,
yeah, I mean that's kind of obvious, don't you think? Like it shows what happens when people get have like this extreme everything is something they can buy, and they just have the extreme luxuries.
The film doesn't take the easy route by vilifying individual by and large consumers. In that way, it's the opposite of a film like Idiocracy, which is a movie I absolutely despise.
Welcome to Costco.
Wait, why does he despise Idiocracy? like doesn't it make fun of the kind of stuff that I think when President Trump got elected, one of the creators of Idiocracy said, "I think my movies come to life." I don't get this person, or I know it's Jonathan McIntosh, but
I love you.
Idiocracy is also meant as a critique of consumerism, but it traffics in a brand of cynical, elitist humor that ends up blaming individuals, often the most powerless and poorest of people, for the destructive actions of corporations and governments. To its credit, that's not how Wall-E frames the humans living aboard the Axiom Starliner. Yes, they're complicit in their situation, and yes, they enjoy the privileges the system affords them. If we were to use an individualistic lens to explain their behavior, we would be forced to conclude that the captain and all the passengers act in lazy, stupid, and apathetic ways.
Isn't the captain the bad guy, though? He's saying there's no villain in the... I'm so confused.
Because they are naturally lazy, stupid, and apathetic people. But since Wall-E is an example of sociological storytelling, it frames the passengers and the captain as initially acting in the ways they do because that's what the Axiom's social systems expect from them. Even the passenger's physical appearance is a direct result of the ship's systems, and not a result of their personal failings. They are simply following the paths of least resistance that are laid out for them. And that means...
Okay, I'm going to stop this video here. There's not... the true hero of Wall-E is the cockroach. It just wants to live a quiet life. That last bit about misogyny and patriarchy, about describing the effects of our sociological systems rather than demonizing men, is so good. Well, then why do people who espouse those views that there's a patriarchy demonize men and say, when you say not all men, they're like, no, you can't say not all men, this is all men. So the AI is the bad guy, not the captain. The captain is at the whim of the AI. Okay. Um, so I can either respond to more of these videos, which seem pretty funny, or there is something else political I want to respond to, which is Conservapedia. And for those of you who don't know, Conservapedia is basically the conservative version of, um, like Rational Wiki or even SJW Wiki. Like it's literally that bad. So let me know if you want more pop culture detective videos or Conservapedia. I'm waiting on the chat. And let me know if the audio is still bad too. Here, I'll pull up Conservapedia so you can see that. Here we go. Liberal movies. This is funny. Oops. Do whatever you want. You'll enjoy doing so that you're not stressed. Okay. Well, I want to respond to Conservapedia right now, and I know Hugo and Jake already did a couple responses to Conservapedia. Shoeonhead did some responses to Conservapedia. The fifth way, military consists of evil aliens, and what was overall it's because it's military. Military bad. Okay. Alien franchise. This pro-feminist anti with the this film was proven similar to the 1965 Vampires, but since it fitted the left and didn't care get biased reviews anyway. The second film, Aliens, is an anti-Vietnam statement. Its predecessor copies another previous feature, in this case, the 1954 film Them. Okay, so I don't know what these claims are about it being like other movies. I haven't seen enough of Alien or enough of those other movies to really determine that. But the fact it's saying it's pro-feminist, what, because there's a woman? It's pro-feminist. You guys, every movie with a woman in it, doing something you like and want will help relieve stress, and you will have more fun with it. Okay, then I'll just have fun with this, because this is just funny. But yeah, apparently Alien is pro-feminist and anti-capitalist. Okay, all the way 2016. The 2016 HBO film based on the presidency of Democrat Lyndon B. Johnson is a good example of a historical revisionist film, palatable for liberals' regressive dominion of the media. Liberals seized the opportunity of the film to distort history in order to hold Johnson in high regard, and also ignored many of the president's faults, including his racism, the war on poverty, and how. Wait, the the war on poverty and how created a welfare state, which by design destroyed untold numbers of African American families. Okay, that just okay. I mean, maybe that's true, but again, I don't really know. American Psycho. Here we go. American Psycho is actually one of my favorite movies. Don't be fooled by the patriotic content. It's the most anti-American film you'll ever see because it attempts to pass its stockbroker off as a secret serial killer. That's the point. Oh, here we go. Uwe Boll, referred to as the worst director of this generation, and known for his furious, vulgar, and spiteful responses to negative reception, makes one of the most historically inaccurate modern films that blames capitalism for the Great Recession, the downfall of the everyday man life. So anything that portrays capitalism in a in a bad way is liberal. Okay. I haven't seen most of these films. The Birth of a Nation. Why is The Birth of a Nation a liberal film? This infamously racist film, one of the longest ever made, or once the longest ever made, sorry, begins by documenting the American Civil War, then depicts the Ku Klux Klan as heroes who vanquish people of color. I'm surprised that Conservapedia uses the term people of color, who are black racial stereotypes from political position and from their lawful right to vote. The KKK was founded by the Democrat Party, even though the left has repeatedly tried denying the connection between the two. Yeah, that's true. The KKK was founded by the Democrat Party, but again, that doesn't make it a liberal film. Like, do you really think that contemporary liberals support the KKK? Blue State, what looks like a romantic comedy, actually encourages the false idea that liberalism must be established and conservatism abolished in America, as the main character follows up on his absurd vow to move to Canada if George W. Bush is reelected president. Okay, so, but isn't that just how people act when somebody they don't like gets elected president? Like, I'm sure there were plenty of conservatives who were anti-Obama who were like, I'm going to move to Canada, or I'm going to move to Canada if, weren't there some people who said they were going to move to Canada if Obamacare got established, even though they have like a more socialized healthcare in Canada? It's funny. But obviously plenty of people on the left said they were going to move to Canada because Trump got elected president. Like, everybody acts like it's the worst thing ever when somebody they don't like gets elected president, or some policy they don't like gets. So I haven't seen most of these movies. Clockwork Orange, Rebels in Sex and Violence, and Mark's Christian prison education. Depicts police as thugs recruited from street gangs. Okay, then Day of the Dead, Then I'm Walking, The Devil's Backbone, The Dictator. I haven't seen most of these movies. Doctor Strangelove, loosely based on Peter George's 1958 thriller novel Red Alert. This black comedy is against war, the military, and nuclear weaponry, and tries to downplay the seriousness of Cold War era fears of a nuclear apocalypse. Yeah, the whole point was that it was supposed to make fun of the kind of hysteria that was happening around the Cold War at the time. The entire point. This one just confuses me. This anti-Semitic Nazi propaganda film was made with direct input from Adolf Hitler, who made sure that anti-Semitism was as blunt and as direct as possible. Most audiences were shocked at the crudity of the messages. So, let me get this straight. A Nazi propaganda film is a liberal movie. Okay. It's time for me to walk to the store. Hugs. Catch you in the next one, hun. Take care. Yeah, thanks, Maddie. Okay. I haven't seen most of these. Independence Day. Although it is the sequel to the patriotic and to a certain extent conservative film Independence Day. Don't get how a film about fighting aliens is a conservative film. Okay. Love, Simon. Is that just because it's related to gay people? It's therefore The Matrix. Here we go. Despite the salvation narrative, this whole trilogy glorifies anarchism and nihilism, even including a brief nod to Jean Baudrillard, I don't know how to pronounce that, on nihilism, chapters from Simulacrum and Simulation. So it is true, if you watch The Matrix, they do make a reference to that book. Hinting several times towards a pro-communist, anti-American, anti-Christian view. Oh yeah, it's anti-Christian, even though the whole narrative of it is that there's this person that's basically like Jesus. Okay. The second film's architecture tries to give a devastating critique / twist to salvation. The architect is a malevolent, allegoric allegorical substitute for the Christian God. In the same scene, a panel of screens implicitly compares George W. Bush to Hitler during a discussion of evil in the world, and features wars and conflicts specifically involving America. So, criticizing American wars is pro-communist. And I don't think the Wachowskis were legitimately trying to compare George W. Bush to Hitler. They were just showing like, oh, these are some bad things that are going on in the world. Oh, there's Hitler. I don't think they were trying to make that. In fact, far left space I can't talk. Hot play on the film specifically because as they were known at the time were influenced by his pro-socialist, communist, and anti-American rhetoric. First film's throwaway dialogue between the main villain Agent Smith and his freedom fighter Cypher is a shallow attempt at insulting Ronald Reagan because Smith implies that Cypher will become the next Ronald Reagan should he succeed in betraying his allies to the agents. Okay. This is just irritating. It's true that Smith does call Cypher Mr. Reagan, like that was his name in the Matrix, but it's not. I don't think that was necessarily trying to compare him to Ronald Reagan or that he would become the next Reagan. That may or may not be true. The trilogy's overall depiction of religion is closer to Gnosticism, even with Neo, the main protagonist, presented as a savior figure. The Wachowskis openly admitted in an interview that they deliberately modeled the entire story after Friedrich Nietzsche's, I don't know how to pronounce that, or Nietzsche maybe. The trilogy has been cited as the cause for various murders. What? Oh my god. The Matrix leads to murders. Okay, did not know this. My favorite movie leads to murders, according to Conservapedia. Oh my god. Here, I'll just add in that I was responding to Conservapedia too. Okay. This is hilarious. Oh my god. Just trying to get over that. Ultimately leading to a variant of the insanity defense known as the Matrix defense. What? What you say? What you say? What you say? What? I don't even know what I'm reading at this point. This is crazy. It's a video game. Here's the thing: these people are like the conservative Anita Sarkeesians because they're like, "Oh my god, movies! Oh my god, video games!" Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, because Hideo Kojima confessed that he intended to use the same themes for the game. Okay. I'm gonna skip Milk. Sean Penn openly portrays openly homosexual. So anything, anything that's gay is bad. That's what they're saying basically. They're saying anything that has to do with gay people is bad. See, that's Pan's Labyrinth. It's had from it promoting paganism and the cult. It also demonized Francisco Franco's Spain and promoted the Spanish Republicans from the Spanish Civil War due to being made by Marxist director Guillermo del Toro. I don't know if Guillermo del Toro is actually Marxist or if they're just saying that. But even if he was, like, portraying fascism as bad is not a liberal thing. Okay, I haven't seen most of these movies. RoboCop, left-wing smut peddler Paul Verhoeven, uh, failed attempt to depict all police forces and corporations as evil. So anything that depicts a corporation as evil or a police officer as evil is automatically a liberal film. Okay. Star Trek Into Darkness. Aside from it being a blatant ripoff on Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan in terms of plotline, the film also has several anti-war and terror messages, as indicated by both Benedict Cumberbatch and Simon Pegg. Okay. Anti-Semitic Nazi propaganda film that was notorious for. I don't get why anti-Semitic Nazi propaganda films are included in a list of worst liberal movies. Triumph of the Will, that was also another Nazi propaganda film. V for Vendetta blatantly glorifies anarchism, socialism, communism, and homosexuality. One of these things is not like the other. Vice, made by socialists. They're calling all these directors socialists and communists. I highly doubt those people are actually socialists and communists. This film exists solely to ridicule the American patriot, dictating lies about his legacy, portraying him as an unlikable sociopath without morals. So these guys sound like very establishment Republicans. Like they really strongly support George Bush. So that was the politically liberal live action films. Let's go on to the socially liberal live action films. Animal House, this college comedy, glorifies alcohol abuse, debauchery, nihilism, extramarital sex, and all varieties of youthful rebellion. This sounds like it was written by like very old men. Like, look at the youths these days. Look what Tom is highest grossing feature in history, directed by liberal James Cameron, enforces many. So if it's directed by a person who's liberal or socialist or communist, according to you, it's one of the worst liberal movies. Okay. Um, Being John Malkovich, this biopic wasn't a biopic. Celebrates homosexuality and includes a large amount of vulgar humor. So anything that promotes homosexuality or promotes vulgar humor is liberal. Okay. The Big Lebowski. Wait. Ben and Arthur. For people who don't know, Ben and Arthur is one of the worst movies ever made, but in a good way. As the title suggests, is a pro-homosexual propaganda film, which also portrays Christians as hateful bigots. The film has the reputation of being one of the most hated homosexuality by critics and audience alike, even among homosexuals. Wikipedia also acknowledges this as the movie on the list of movies considered the worst. Was a major box office bomb. Yeah, it barely got released to anything because it was such a terrible movie. But they're saying it's one of the worst liberal movies because it promotes homosexuality. Okay. Blue is the warmest color. Why? Because that's lesbians. The Big Lebowski qualifies drug abuse, laziness, and nihilism. Billy Elliot. This British film stars a boy who represents the homosexual agenda by wanting to be a ballet dancer, rather than play sports. There are very poor family values as the families constantly cursing at one another. Boogie Nights, Boys Don't Cry. Oh, here we go. It glorifies the choice of a young girl to embrace homosexual and transgender life choices, dishonesty, and premarital relations. Polarizing it caricatures and exaggerates natural reactions to her perversion, all in aid of promoting the homosexual agenda. Okay, you're so wrong in so many ways. Boys Don't Cry is about a hate crime that happened to a trans man. He was raped and killed. This really happened. But they're saying those are natural reactions. It's natural reactions to rape and kill someone. I, I really don't know. This vulgar film is loaded with sex jokes, sex scenes, nudity, one graphic elephant sex scene, and a joke about Donald Trump getting AIDS. Okay, somebody insulted Donald Trump. That's a worst liberal move. Call Me by Your Name, the Brokeback Mountain of 2017, only this time pedophilia in addition to sexual. Caligula, The Cat in the Hat. I mean, that is a trash movie. A lot of these are either really good movies or really trash movies. I haven't seen most of these. Tragedy held despite by being made by no Republican, Sam Raimi. I know Sam Raimi was a Republican. The film premise stated with the woman being harder to do the thing, with Raimi also implicitly stating the gypsy who cursed had sympathetic reasons for cursing the main protagonist, despite the fact that she had explicitly forsaked paying mortgage 3 times. In addition, the means to counteract the Lamia, the creature responsible for sending people ill and cursed, more explicitly pagan than Christian. So if it supports pagan values as opposed to Christian values, it's bad. Godzilla, Good Will Hunting. Left-wing actors, writers Matt Damon and Ben Affleck created this coming-of-age film that is the main reason why Howard Zinn's anti-American revisionist textbook of people's history in the United States. Okay, that is generally a propaganda book. PG should be R. PG-13 should be R. So what? You know better than the NPAA? Like, seriously? PG-13. Here's where I believe almost Jennifer's body. The Laramie Project, an adaptation of a play by the same name made by HBO to promote the homosexual agenda, include giving a one-sided extremely biased murderers had homophobia, quote unquote, as a motive. They did. They killed him for being gay. Like, I'm sorry. That exists. It also has a significant anti-religious bent, and where two of the documentarists, implied to be homosexual, tried to talk to priests specifically to piss him off, and also had one of the members breaking out from priests being hateful, specifically because he implied the possibility that Matthew Shepard will go to hell if he didn't repent for his homosexual activities. So wait, saying that somebody's going to hell for being gay is a good thing? Like, they're saying that it's not hateful to say that you should go to hell for being gay. Mulholland Drive, because of this nonsensical art film, think homosexual in general are sexy societal norms. Haven't seen most of these. The Shape of Water, disgusting pro-bestiality and femme movie by Marxist filmmaker Guillermo del Toro. Why do they keep calling him Marxist? Is he actually a Marxist? Also encourages homosexuality as hints of illegal immigration. Shape of illegal immigration. What? Oh my God. Social network amplifies the gossip website Facebook, which feeds narcissism and destroys marriages. The film also portrays drug use and misogyny in a positive light. So wait, now portraying misogyny in a positive light is a liberal thing? I'm aware of that. Super Bad promotes the teenage use of drugs. Super Bad. So, like, vulgar to them is like, Waterworld. So just that global war was real. Trying to connect Bryan Singer's pedophilia allegations to him being gay. I haven't seen most of these animated movies, so I'm gonna skip that. Schlock okay, that might. Michael Moore does have a liberal bias on his films. Oh my god, these are hilarious. Anti-Christian and sacrilegious films. Antichrist. It's full of horrifying images like opposed to. I was looking for a specific. I haven't seen most of these films. Monty Python's Life of Brian, of course. It's sacrilege. I mean, I can see how that would actually be seen as sacrilegious because that actually is making fun of religion. Yeah, I didn't see most of these films. Debatable whether liberal. They're just listing like the most innocent movies as debated whether liberal. Like, come on. The Lego movie? Anti-large government with the message that anyone has the potential to be extraordinary. However, is also anti-capitalist and the main villain's Lord business. Okay, I think that's all. I'm gonna go to the best conservative movies, the greatest conservative movie. I haven't seen most of these. 127 Hours. This biopic tells the true story about initially easygoing, carefree outdoor adventurer Aaron Ralston, who in 2003 gained worldwide attention for becoming trapped in Blue Canyon, John Canyon in Utah, a buller trapping his right forearm against the canyon wall. As he reflects on his life and expects to die, Aaron realizes that he hasn't appreciated his family enough, and that he didn't treat his girlfriend as well as he should have. In the end, Aaron summons the courage to do what was necessary to save his life, to amputate his arm. As the real Aaron would rather say, he was reborn in the canyon, emerging with a far better appreciation of his family and never again taking anything for granted. How is that pro-conservative? What, because he appreciated his girlfriend more or something? I don't get these people. 1984, the big screen adaptation of an iconic conservative text from George Orwell. How, uh, just because it's like anti-communism, anti-Stalinism does not make it conservative. Like, I'm pretty sure even liberals would agree with you that that 1984 is not a world that we want to be in. Like, how is that a conservative text? Hi, I just woke up like 10 minutes ago. Same here. um, Ace Ventura. Sure, Ace Ventura is an animal lover, but not an animal rights activist and prefers conservation. In addition to many recent years, liberals have criticized this move for attacking the LGBT community as the main villain is a transgender. Oh my god. This is so funny. Ace literally freaks out when he realizes he really made out with the man, and does everyone else when they find out the truth. Ace also calls him by his biological gender. Okay, I forget what the name of that guy was, but I think it was more like he was just dressing as a woman to trick people and detract from his being the villain. But Ace Ventura being, I mean, that has a lot of crude jokes in it. Why are you against? I thought you were jokes and that those, for some reason, weren't VA benefit survey. Probably applies to a lot of these people on Conservapedia. Here we go. Here's the reason why the they think that Nazis were liberal. A neo-Nazi, the Nazis were left-wing socialists, even though the left has tried to deny it, overcomes his racism and anti-Semitism after being sent to jail for voluntary manslaughter, and does everything in his power to prevent his brother from following the same path to destruction. American Sniper, of course. Animal Farm, of course, because it's a conservative story, because it's against communism. Like, I think Orwell himself was left-leaning, right? So how is that conservative? The Avengers. How are these conservative movies? Bad News Bears, Batman Begins. Just seeing the name of these make me laugh. Black. I thought that was a liberal movie because of its diverse cast, or I wouldn't say diverse, but like mostly black cast. Weren't people on the left up in arms about that because they're like, oh my god, it's representing people of color. It's such a good movie. Like here's a story. About a year ago, I would say, or it was a few months after Black Panther came out, so maybe it was before that. But I had this. I was sitting in on this movie history class because I was interested in taking it, and all the guy could talk about, and he was total SJW, was about what impact Black Panther had on the world. And he was like, do you consider yourself to be in a minority group? And in like having students raise their hands, and it was weird. And I didn't return to that class because I didn't want. He just seems like he was just pushing the ideology in people. But no, apparently Black Panther is a conservative movie as well. It makes people both lose their shit on both sides of the aisle. Okay. Based on the eponymous Marvel Comics superhero, the 18th installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe tells of a young African king who gains enhanced strength consumption of a majestic heart-shaped herb, fighting against the force of a black supremacist who seeks to take the king's throne. In the name of morality, this king, or the Black Panther, seeks to destroy the villain and his plan to overthrow the other races and governments of the world. Black Panther recognizes both the importance of helping those in need as well as not going beyond one's governmental authority. There are plenty of pagan religious references. This film appeals in some ways to a general sense of Christian morality and conservative and governmental justice, and never diverts into political correctness about black supremacism. Okay, so I guess Black Panther was anti-black supremacism, but again, that doesn't make it a conservative. Like they think, like, oh, something that mildly agrees with me in one way that must be conservative. Something that doesn't agree with me in one way must be liberal. Brazil. Oh my god, they completely missed the point on this one. Like if you watch Brazil, like one of the dream sequences has somebody holding up a sign that says "Consumers for Christ." Like the main message is that it's anti-conservative, not anti-conservative, anti-corporate. Much like the conservative text, 1984 teaches that big government is wrong for the world. Captain America. Are they just huge Marvel fans? Like I imagine these old men, going to, well, I'm sure old women too, but who are writing on this Conservapedia, going to the Avengers films, and they're like, "This is a conservative movie." The Chronicles of Narnia. I haven't seen most of these movies, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. So again, Batman is somehow a conservative movie. Okay, the Equalizer. The Exorcist, Emily Rose and The Exorcist. So anything that Fat Kid Rules the World. Most of these are just terrible movies. Groundhog Day is a conservative movie, okay? Anything about Hitler is that portrays Hitler in a bad way is a conservative movie, apparently. I love Blazing Saddles, very offensive though. I actually haven't seen Blazing Saddles, but apparently that's a conservative movie. Indiana Jones series, so anything like with portraying the military in a good way is conservative now. Jurassic Park. Logan's Run, Lord of the Rings. I wonder if they're going to claim Harry Potter. Let me look up whether they think Harry Potter was conservative or liberal. I'm sure they thought it was liberal because of the magic. God's Not Dead, of course. No, not Harry Potter. Mary Poppins, one of the greatest motion picture masterpieces of the time, adapted from the novel by Australian-born British author P.L. Travers, Magic Nanny, blah, 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 blah. Also has an early condemnation of feminism as one of the reasons the mom was preoccupied and why Mary Poppins was ultimately hired to help raise the kids was because the mother attempted to fight for women's liberation. Wait, Men in Black? What? What you say? What you say? What you say? What is this? Like, how is Men in Black a conservative movie? A loose adaptation of the graphic novel of the same name. The film carries an implicit promotion of national borders and legal immigration / assimilation, as the titular organization keeps the existence of extraterrestrial immigrants secret and allows them in so long as the aliens specifically make sure they undergo naturalization for them to obey certain laws. So because of that scene in the beginning with the people, they were looking. Rude, sorts they don't even give an explanation for why it's the total spot at Sky is a conservative movie. I don't know how this works for some people. Or for these particular people. Conservapedia, the trustworthy encyclopedia. Let's look for Rational Wiki. I think Rational Wiki has a article on True Scum. Transmedicalism. Here we go. Transmedicalism is a term for a wide range perhaps the reason why true scum exist is because their transgender experience is so wrapped around gender dysphoria they cannot comprehend the notion of a transgender person without it. The reason why so-called true scum can't um, Reason why true scum exists is because their transgender experience is so wrapped around gender dysphoria that they cannot comprehend the notion of a transgender person without. No, the reason why you can't comprehend the notion of a transgender person without dysphoria is because there is no such thing. Like, you have to have dysphoria to be trans. That is the definition. The lack of understanding and transphobia from society both result in fear and distrust of these alien transgender people. No one sees quote unquote trans people without dysphoria as alien. I just see them as cis people. Why am I getting pop-ups? It's also possible that trans medicals see nothing good or inherently valuable about the experience of gender transition. Look at all these citation needed, citation needed, citation. They have no citations. And even view it as something they would rather not ever have to go through. But see the dysphoria as a materially disadvantageous and mentally debilitating biochemical aberration. Because dysphoria is, by definition, an experience that is not anywhere close to enjoyable, people who have it see gender transition as a necessary evil and the only way out of an already cruel existence other than suicide. Yeah, like, if I didn't have to transition, I wouldn't transition. Like, that's just a fact. So trans medicalism feel contemptuous of people going through a transition when they do not apparently need to. Why would I don't why would you go through a transition if you needed to? Why would you put yourself through that other than just to prove how trans you are? They see transgenders as relatively privileged cis people who are appropriating the trans identity while further stigmatizing actual trans people who are already marginalized as it is and who are urgently in need of help or research as scum whenever they speak about this appropriation. So they have trans medicalist arguments, anti-trans medicalist arguments. However, this still invalidates many non-binary identities, as not all non-binary people have gender dysphoria. So much for a rational wiki. Like, this is just like oh, but this is basically, oh, ooh, there's trans people without dysphoria. No, there are. Like, how else are you trans? Like, it literally makes no sense. But I'm gonna end this stream here because I gotta go soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will try to make more videos on mental health and PSA reviews. Um, yeah, and I'll just end podcast here.